Hi, I'm Allie Sutherland. I'm here in San Francisco at the CMORoom where marketing minds meet. I'm here with Bhavesh. Bhavesh, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a marketer with over 20 years, mostly in the financial sector. I'm currently at Wells Fargo, and over my career, I've done essentially every kind of marketing. And I love like what I love among in that whole space is really building capabilities. So I work into organizations, both fintechs, startups, and then big companies like Wells, where I build new capabilities, new organizations, working at the intersection of marketing, technology, and analytics. Yeah.
Hey, Bhavesh, you mentioned something about being at startups, but also you said that you were with a big company like Wells Fargo. What is something that you get at a smaller company, like a startup, that you don't get marketing wise at a big company like Wells Fargo?
Yeah, no, great question. And I think that's one reason why I sort of work in large and small companies because you get very different skills and experiences. What I love working about in small companies is one is you get to get your hands dirty. You get to do things hands on, which you would not do in a large company. Your scope is much wider. So you can essentially, you see an opportunity, you can go and pursue the opportunity. So you're much more room to play and grow. And then, really as a marketer, it teaches you the hustle that allows you like one of the things that when I work in large companies, people really acknowledge and appreciate is the speed I bring to a large company. Yeah. And I totally attribute that to having learned to work fast in a small company. And that I think is the biggest value add that a small company gets you.
You were talking about speed and things are changing so rapidly in marketing, right? Every week there's something new, whether it's AI, whether it's something that has been launched on a social media platform. What is something new that we might not know about in terms of marketing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think by definition, we won't know about it if it's, I won't know about it. But, I honestly think, one of the biggest things that's happening is the way consumer behavior is changing. And, we sort of see it, but I don't think we as marketers have fully internalized what's happening and what do we do about it. To give you a couple of examples, when I was at a fintech before Wells Fargo, one of the things we realized is our single most effective channel was influencers. And having spent my career in financial marketing, you always think, like we were discussing earlier, people tend to be very cautious about their finances, and you think people will be very conservative about where they take their financial advice from, who do they listen to. But what I realized is people, especially the younger generation, are very willing to listen to influencers, very willing to get collaboration from third parties and base their financial decisions on somebody else's recommendation. So that was like one example. Now I think sort of, with obviously with AI, which is all around, but I think the important thing about that is how it's changing consumer behavior. I think the way people search is going to change. So the way companies think about search and the way search marketing has been essentially the bread and butter of most digital marketing, right? Any company today, the single largest digital channel is paid and organic search. And I think consumers, the way they now look for information using either voice or using AI-driven LLMs and chatbots, it's going to significantly change the way we need to think about reaching consumers.
I think that's the thing that you hit on there. It's just reaching consumers. And you talked about AI and influencers. How do you think those two things are going to come together?
An AI influencer? Now, who knows? But it could be. I mean, people are starting to trust chatbots so much that you could have, an AI-driven persona that becomes an influencer in their own right? I mean, people start trusting information that's generated by this persona, and that becomes their own source of information. So that's sort of, like Cloud, for example, I think they're trying to create the persona of, an assistant there. So that's probably one thing. I think the downside potentially is if influencers start using AI to start thinking about their content, to start thinking about their recommendations, that could be risky, right? Because the reason influencers are credible and people go to them is because they trust their personal information or they trust their personal experiences, right? They're saying, look, this person is saying that they have tried this particular brand, this particular product, and they're saying it's good, so I'm going to try it because I trust this person. But if influencers start taking a shortcut and start using AI to kind of come up with their recommendations, then they've lost that personal credibility. So that I think is a big risk.
I completely agree with you. And to wrap things up, what is one thing that a brand that is not in your industry is doing marketing wise that inspires you?
You know, it's good timing because recently I heard this podcast called there's a podcast series of Acquired that they talk about different companies, and they had done this in-depth look into Costco, and it was very impressive. I mean, I'm a Costco member, so I have the personal loyalty, but sort of taking the marketing lens, it was very impressive to see how they as a company, are profitable, growing company, highly successful, despite not taking any shortcuts, right? I mean, they are very clear. They say that the margins are capped at 11%. They do not want to like fleece the consumer. Even if their supplier reduces pricing, they reduce the price for the customer instead of increasing the margin. They have a no questions asked return policy. So there are a lot of things that in today's day and age you would think are, how can a company survive and succeed if they're doing those things? They pay their employees well, they have good health insurance and so on. So to my mind, like that's a great example of a company that's done all the right things and is still very successful and is a company that can be looked up at. And I think that's something which companies should aspire to for the for long-term success.
I agree with you 100%. Bhavesh, thank you so much for standing here with me in front of this beautiful scene right here and talking about the future of marketing. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Happy to talk.